Alright, it's the return of the SmarkCast. I'm going to start doing this weekly again. I said I would do it if I was impressed enough by Raw. I'll get to that here in a minute. Because last week's Raw was fantastic. I loved the ending. I'll once again get to that here in a minute because it's not what you think. And then I said if Raw this week impressed me enough, I would do it again, or I'd start this up again. But Raw was an epic fail. Raw sucked. So it's not because of that I'm doing this. What renewed my love for wrestling actually happened on Sunday. And it was called Wrestle Kingdom 9. This was NJPW's WrestleMania, and it was outstanding. The whole time I was watching, I just had that love for wrestling again. I wasn't ashamed to be a wrestling fan, and it was just awesome. I loved every minute of it. Every single match was stellar. It had everything you could possibly want, and I implore you, I'm telling you to check it out. It is so good. I mean, you look at just look at Twitter, hashtag Wrestle Kingdom 9, and read the tweets, man. There was not a single negative thing said. It was all positive, all glowing. You had 2 5-star matches in a row, several 4 stars, 3 stars, nothing below a 3-star. Beautiful, beautiful matches. You had everything you could want. You had the heavyweight powerhouses. You had power moves. You had strong style, strong elbows. Just you had high-flying, technical matches, stories. Everything about this show was stellar. This was one of the best shows I've seen in a long time, probably since Ring of Honor War of the Worlds, which incidentally had NJPW with it. So, just this show did it for me. This show brought everything that I wanted back. It showed that wrestling is not dead. Wrestling can live on. And Ring of Honor has been showing me this for years. NJPW has been showing me this for years. Every time I get down in the dumps about wrestling, Ring of Honor or NJPW has an event that just blows my mind. So thank you, Ring of Honor and NJPW, for showing me that wrestling is not dead. And that the serial killer that is WWE is not killing it completely. Unfortunately, I live in the South, on the East Coast, so I don't get to see PWG. I have like 3 DVDs, and what I see there is amazing too. It's just I don't see that as often. So forgive me for not mentioning PWG, because I know that too is showing that wrestling's not dead. Unfortunately, I don't get to see it. So I really have no opinion in that matter. So what I see is Ring of Honor and NJPW, and both are doing great. And I can explain why it's working. Before I get into WWE and all that crap, I will get into it. I am going to try to cover it with some positivity. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to try my best, people. Just give me some time. Okay, so with NJPW and Ring of Honor, what they do that WWE doesn't, that is actually killing WWE, it's very simple. WWE has, I think at last count there were, I think 11 writers, maybe 8 now, but there are writers. They write the matches, they write the outcomes, they write the dialogue, they write the stories. Back in the day, in the 80s, 90s, they didn't have writers. They had bookers. Now the bookers, they wrote the stories, but they did it kind of loosely. It was like, this is what we want to happen. For the guys that really can't come up with their own stuff, they're like, okay, you do this. But for the most part, the wrestlers ran the show. And this is what's going on with WWE. WWE is not having faith in their people. In the Attitude Era, they had bookers. They had bookers and writers. They had them tandem, which actually worked because they didn't have a whole lot of writers. I think they had 4 writers total back then, and it worked out. But that was the start of the transition into writers, and they fired all the bookers, and it just became writers, which was the biggest mistake WWE made, in the history of WWE. NXT has writers, but NXT has 1 writer, which actually works because they do book the matches, so the matches come in there, and this is where the big difference is. NJPW and Ring of Honor, both of them do the same thing. They come in there, and the booker says, "Hey, Jay Briscoe, Adam Cole, you guys are going to have a match. You guys are going to have 35 minutes. I want you to put on a match where Adam Cole is getting the hell beat out of Jay Briscoe, but does a comeback, but in the end, Jay Briscoe's going to win it." So, right there, they know what to do. And then Jay Briscoe, Adam Cole make the match. They can do it calling it in the ring while the match is going, which some people do, or they can make the match out ahead of time, like Macho Man Randy Savage used to do. But in the end, they run the match. They do it, and it always comes out stellar. The writers have nothing to do with that, or the booker has nothing to do with that. NJPW does the same thing. We want Tanahashi and Okada to have a 45-minute match, and we want Okada to beat the crap out of Tanahashi, but Tanahashi come out at the end and win it all. That's what happens, and Tanahashi and Okada put on a 5-star match. So this is why NJPW and Ring of Honor work so well, because they don't have anyone really telling them what to do. It's their own thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least they have freedom. WWE people don't get that. There are very, very few people, entertainers, that actually have that freedom. I do believe that WWE is starting to give them freedom, but it's not working out well. So, in the end, I think if WWE would just get rid of the writers, or not even get rid of the writers, get rid of some of the writers, break it down to about 2, and hire some bookers, just book the matches, don't write the matches. That's all it takes to have something stellar. So, and that's just how NJPW works so well. And NJPW, that whole thing last night, we had 4 promos, which weren't even promos. They were video packages. We had video packages of the match that was coming up. And every time the match ended, there was maybe 30 seconds until the next match started, or until the other people started coming down the aisle. It was just like, match over, come down the aisle, match over, come down the aisle. Worked so well because it had so much flow to it. It was just there was no stutter step, there was no pausing, there was no commercials. It was all just flow. And WWE doesn't have that. WWE has commercials. WWE has a promo after every single match. You don't have to have a promo after every single match. You can just jump into the next match and continue on with your night. It's just something that WWE does not have. Flow. Got flow. And Raw doesn't do that. Raw is... it takes forever to get through because you'll have a match and then you'll have a segment, then a promo, then a segment, then a commercial, and it's just... and then the commercials during the matches just kill it. So, get rid of all that stuff. Let it go back to the old days. Let it just be natural. Anyway, so Wrestle Kingdom 9, look it up. NJPW or Global Force Wrestling presented it, so you can look at it through Global Force Wrestling. Just look up, if anything at all, look up Nakamura versus Ibushi. Just look up that match, and if you don't think that you can handle more of that match, or you don't like that match, something's wrong with you. But if you don't like that match, then don't watch the rest of it. But watch that match and tell me that you would not like to see more of that. Because if WWE had more of that, I would be happier about watching WWE, and I'd be excited every Monday instead of just being, I guess the best description of what I am right now when it comes to WWE is that crack addict that has been doing crack for so long that I really have no choice in the matter but to continue doing crack, because it's habit. And if I don't have it weekly, my whole day will be off. So yeah, I guess WWE is crack. So it's bad for you, but it makes you feel good sometimes. Anyway, I did want to cover last week on Raw what made me kind of want to do this again, what kind of renewed my faith in WWE, because actually Raw last week wasn't that bad. It flowed really well. It was well timed. There really wasn't much filler. There was probably about an hour they could have cut out of it, and that would be the first step, is go back down to 2 hours. But I wonder if you can hear that. My dog is chewing on a bone. It's funny. But anyway, but the ending of Raw, where I do understand the arguments of, oh, well, it made Survivor Series completely worthless, and it did negate Survivor Series, but a lot of people are just like, oh, well, I didn't know the Authority was coming back. If the Authority wasn't coming back, they would have never have done the John Cena can bring them back angle. They were going to come back, and they were going to come back before WrestleMania. It was going to happen. There was no doubt in my mind that they would not be back before WrestleMania. Did I think they would come back in a month? No. So that was, I didn't understand that. I thought they should wait till probably after Royal Rumble to bring them back, but they brought them back in a month. But that's not what I want to focus on, because that was a piss poor decision, and I think they did it because of ratings, but this is not it. What I wanted to focus on was Seth Rollins, because what they did in that segment was establish Seth Rollins as the #1 heel. He was evil. He was doing what he had to do to get his way, and it was so evil. Just it was so dark and twisted, and it rode that line to almost going over the edge. I mean, no pun intended. He was talking about paralyzing Edge, and Edge is not going to be able to hold his child anymore. That was horrifying, but it never really went over the top. And a lot of people argue, hey, well, why didn't Cena just slide in there and save him anyway, or all this other stuff? And it's like, WWE, you have to go with a little bit of suspension of disbelief. There will always be something that's like, why didn't the other guys come out and save him? Well, if the other guys came out and saved him, we would be back to where we were, where it was John Cena versus the Authority, but the Authority's not there, and Seth Rollins whining for another week about wanting the Authority back. Whereas, instead, we are back 3 steps back, but at least something intriguing happened. You can't always have it end the way you want it. And then with Seth Rollins and his, "You gotta know me better than that, John. I'm going to kill him anyway." I thought that was the line of the night. That was awesome, the way he said it, the way it was delivered. And John Cena saved the day, but the Authority's back. Bottom line, Authority's back, okay? Get over it. I'm happy the Authority's back, because I've always found Stephanie McMahon and Triple H to be very entertaining. Cut to last night. Yeah. Very bad Raw. I am not going to cover the whole thing. I'm just going to skip over some stuff, because I don't want to cover the whole thing. I will say that when it started, I was a little happy because Triple H and Stephanie were there, and they made it kind of interesting. And then they made the Barrett and Ziggler match, which was cool, and I thought it was going to be great. But right there is kind of where it ended. We had a very short Ziggler and Barrett match. It did get restarted, and Barrett did win, which I'm very happy about. I think that Barrett should be the Intercontinental Champion because Ziggler doesn't need that belt. Ziggler in no way needs that belt. He's already established. He's a top guy. He won Survivor Series by himself. He's there. He's over with the crowd. It's great. He doesn't need that title. Barrett, he's a returning guy. He kind of needs a title. He went back to heel, which is where he needs to be. And it was just an excellent thing to give him the title. However, I think they should have done it at Royal Rumble. I think they should have made it a little more special and given it to him at a pay-per-view. Because hot potatoing this title on Raw just seems wrong. I mean, when Ziggler won it at the last pay-per-view, it was great. But hot potatoing this title is not putting a whole lot of prestige into this title. It's like it is the exact opposite of CM Punk holding it for over a year, which brought a lot of prestige to that title, even though he never defended it in a main event. But still, I digress. So hopefully, Barrett having this title, he'll hold it for a while. If WWE is smart, which they haven't been showing that lately, they'll have him hold it for a while. So that was one thing, I guess. We had the Bray Wyatt and Ambrose ambulance match, which is a good match. It's just that the storyline is not that great. It's kind of been, a fail because it was intriguing in the beginning and then it kind of dragged. Having Bray Wyatt win was, excuse me, probably the correct choice because I think he probably needed it more than Ambrose because Ambrose is already over and Bray is probably going to be, he needs to be a heel and he needs to have people hate him instead of everyone cheering him when he comes out. Other than that, we had the ending. And Dean Ambrose, I'm willing to bet he comes back at the Royal Rumble. We're going to have a lot of returns at the Royal Rumble. Orton, Ambrose, I guarantee is Ziggler, Rowan, Ryback will all be back by the Royal Rumble. What is confusing to me is the whole ending segment where he fired everybody. They could have brought Sting in there and started the Triple H Sting feud, but they didn't. It seems they're going to let that ride out for a while. Which, if the rumor's true, I don't follow dirt sheets that much, but sometimes they're right. If the rumor's true, then Sting only has 4 appearances. That'll be an appearance, WrestleMania, an appearance, WrestleMania. So you'll have 4 right there. And I guess the best thing to do is have Sting show up just before WrestleMania and start the feud with Triple H. Because that's where I think this is going. I think it's going to be Triple H versus Sting at WrestleMania. If Sting wins, the Authority's gone for good. And Sting will win. So that's cool. But the whole firing of Ziggler, Rowan, and Ryback was just dumb. Because they're going to be back in a couple of weeks. Especially Ziggler. I don't know how they're going to be back, but they're going to be back. So I just thought that whole final segment was a dud. I did think the confetti and the song was hilarious, though. That actually made me chuckle a little bit. And then I guess the most important thing that happened on Raw that I'm trying to stay positive about, even though that whole rant was pretty negative, is the addition of Rollins to the Cena and Brock Lesnar match, which I think that's brilliant because Cena and Brock Lesnar, I'm tired of seeing that. But you add Rollins to the mix, and it makes it kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Rumble match. So there's 2 matches I'm actually looking forward to for the Royal Rumble. I'm just not looking forward to the Raws before and after the Royal Rumble. And I mean, the obvious thing, and everyone's trying to predict it, is that Cena beats Brock Lesnar, Rollins cashes in, and becomes champion. And to me, I find that a little too obvious. I think that's one of those things that the WWE has put in there to say, oh, wait, there's a chance this could happen, and then we're all just waiting on that to happen. But it doesn't. I believe Brock Lesnar wins it, but I may change that. I may change that prediction coming up because I don't remember what WrestleMania is. I apologize for that, but a few WrestleManias ago, Brock Lesnar fought Goldberg, and everyone knew that both of their contracts were up and both of them were leaving. And because of that, the crowd turned against him. They booed him. They didn't give a crap about the match. No one cared about the match, and the match was a dud because of it. And I don't want to see that again with everyone knowing that Brock Lesnar's done after WrestleMania because he's probably going to Bellator or UFC, hopefully Bellator, because he will be destroyed by any heavyweight in the UFC. I just don't want to see the crowd turn on a match because I don't want to see the crowd turn on the match because Brock Lesnar is leaving. And and it just wouldn't make any sense. So to have, I think Daniel Bryan's going to win the Royal Rumble, and I would love to see Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. I would love to see that because I think that would establish Daniel Bryan back at the top. But everyone knows Brock Lesnar's leaving, so people will be like, well, we know Daniel Bryan's going to win. And, I mean, sure, they'll get the yes, yes, yes going, but it won't be the same because everyone knows Brock Lesnar's leaving. So, we'll see. Personally, at a match standpoint, I would love to see Seth Rollins walk out of Royal Rumble a champion, and then we would get Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins. From a match standpoint, that'll be awesome. But personally, out of all the options, what I would love to see is Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar. Daniel Bryan beats Brock Lesnar, and then Seth Rollins cashes in and beats Daniel Bryan, making Daniel Bryan have yet another short title reign. Because that would put so much hate on Seth Rollins, and then we could get a Seth Rollins-Daniel Bryan feud, where in the end, Daniel Bryan would win the title back. Will that happen? I don't know. I think Seth Rollins is ready for that belt, and I do believe that if the title changes hands at Royal Rumble, the title will probably change hands again at WrestleMania, and the only two people who really wouldn't be hurt by that are Cena and Brock Lesnar. I think if Rollins only holds the belt for 2 months and then loses it, it's going to hurt him a little bit. But the people would want to see that, though. People would want to see Rollins lose. So it's very intriguing coming in to WrestleMania. Very intriguing. Very exciting, but at the same time, if Raw doesn't pick up and they don't start really putting all they have into these shows, then WrestleMania may not have a very high buy rate. I know a lot of people are stepping out, and I have a feeling that this upcoming Raw is going to have a horrible rating. I think a lot of people are going to start leaving WWE, and WWE is going to have to start really trying hard. Hopefully they will. And I do believe that WWE can be up there with Ring of Honor and NJPW. I do. The talent's there. They have tons of talent. 99% of the guys on there could work in NJPW and Ring of Honor. But for right now, the only solace I have is at least there's NXT. So, I promise you that the SmarkCast will not be this negative going forward. Hopefully, I can't promise you that. I take that promise back because I can't see WWE getting much better than what it is yet. I really don't think they can step it up until Triple H gets a little more power. If Triple H starts running Raw, we're going to see a lot of good Raws. But while Vince McMahon's still running it, there's going to be issues. But anyway, I did not get a whole lot of questions. Phone, hold on, let's see if I got it. No. I did not get a whole lot of questions that I really wanted to answer. There was a couple, but you know, not really anything. I had a lot of questions about CM Punk, but I said that I would not be talking about him anymore in the SmarkCast because he has nothing to do with wrestling. If I do an MMA SmarkCast, I'll talk about him, but that ain't happening. So anyone who sent me questions on CM Punk, sorry, but it's not going to happen. Other than that, it was like, what's your top 5 favorite, question mark, question mark, question mark, and I don't really like doing lists. So, I mean, I think I got one of who do you think is going to win the Royal Rumble, and I said it's going to be Daniel Bryan. So, I didn't get a lot of questions. I'll ask me some more questions. I'll get them next week. I'd prefer them to be DM'd on my Twitter or emailed because they're a lot easier to keep up with that way. If you tweet them to me, I will probably forget about them. So, sorry about that. But anyway, you can follow me on Twitter at SmarkCast, and of course read all my stuff on Wrestling Heads. This is where this is located now. The SmarkCast coming to you from Wrestling Heads, and only on Wrestling Heads. Technically, it's on YouTube too, but well, it has to be on YouTube so I can put it on to Wrestling Heads. But check it out on Wrestling Heads. And until next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 1 of 3. This is why I can't do a live show anymore, is because I don't have, my schedule is so weird that I get certain days that I can do things, and I just so happen to be able to do it today on a Tuesday. So, anyway, thanks for watching once again, and it's good to be back. Hopefully Raw and WWE can start picking up a little, and I can do a more positive SmarkCast. That would be fantastic. Just to do a positive SmarkCast for one. I just want one Raw, where I don't have a complaint. Just want one. That's all. Or at least give me a Royal Rumble and make it great. Because right now, it really sucks being a wrestling fan because everyone knows WWE. Not a whole lot of people know NJPW and Ring of Honor. Not a whole lot of people know these things. So they're like, oh, that WWE, it's garbage. And I can't argue with that because it is. I mean, they're on TNA levels right now. I mean, TNA and WWE are like neck and neck in badness. And then TNA is going to be coming back soon, and it's probably going to be stellar. Lucha Underground is amazing, but no one knows Lucha Underground either. So, I don't know. It's hard being a wrestling fan right now because all there is WWE, and it's just so bad. Wish people knew more about NJPW and Ring of Honor. But either way, we'll figure it out. Hopefully, let's all hope that I get a SmarkCast that's positive. But until then, until the next SmarkCast and the next SmarkCast, I am the SmarkCast. This is the SmarkCast. Thank you for watching.